ever notice how things just don't tend to go the way we want them to all the time? Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. Great, the whole room. 2 hands. This leads to stress and annoyance, whether it's people, stocks, things, it doesn't matter what it is. It's not good for us because it ends up in the release of cortisol in our brains, which breaks down the body and the mind. So, for example, I was driving down the highway. It was a beautiful day, crystal clear blue sky, sunny, warm. I was on my way to sell my beautiful car that was going out of warranty, going to get a new one. And I'd stayed the prior night at a friend's house. So I'm shooting a text to say thank you when BAM! Not the sound you want to hear when you're driving your car. How would you have felt? Not so good, right? Thankfully, no one was hurt. My response, having meditated for years, was not anger, blame, rage, annoyance. I just looked up. I was grateful. I said, that was a good one. How did I get to that point where I was able to meet a challenging situation that was going to be expensive, and I could have gone into all this spinning thought about all this negativity, instead, simply from a place of peace and happiness and dealing with it because it is what it is? The answer is meditation. What's happening in our brains when something that we perceive as negative occurs? Well, the brain has 3 basic regions. And fortunately, I brought with me my handy brain model to help explain. So up here, we've got the cortical regions, which are the newer regions of the brain. They're several million years old. Back here, we've got the reptilian brain, which is down here, and it's 300 million years old. So it's vastly older than the cortical regions. And it's hardwired for one essential job above all others: survival. Because the first rule on the African savannah was, eat lunch, don't be lunch. So when we have these very challenging situations, what's occurring in our mind is this. The reptilian brain, since it's hardwired for survival, shuts down all non-essential bodily functions. The brain uses 20% to 25% of our caloric intake, despite only weighing 3 pounds. So we need that energy for flight. It shuts down, the reptilian brain shuts down healing, digestion, and higher thought and executive function, all of which occurs in the cortical regions. What we can do with meditation is calm the reptilian brain. How does this happen? Well, Viktor Frankl was a very famous psychiatrist in Austria before World War II. He survived Auschwitz, and he wrote one of the most important books ever written about the brain, Man's Search for Meaning. In that book, he said a super important sentence, and it's this: between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space lies our opportunity to choose. And in that choice lies our freedom. The problem in our modern world is that the human brain has not evolved in the past 100,000 years, despite all our technological innovation. And what that means for us is that we get triggered by friends and family and stocks and events and red lights when we're late, or whatever it might be, into fight, flight, freeze. And then we can't make those choices because there's no space between the stimulus and the response. What meditation does is it allows us to open up that space. And through opening that space, we then have the option to make those choices that serve us and serve others, that help us to live happier, healthier, and freer lives, and live the lives that bring joy and happiness both to ourselves and others with far greater success due to our better choices.